Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Quick hello to everyone watching on lakings.com and foxsportswest.com. This afternoon is with great pride that we introduce John Stevens as the new head coach of the LA Kings. John has been with the Kings for the last 7 years, most recently serving as associate head coach for the past 3 years. Prior to joining the Kings in 2010, John served as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers from 2006 to 2009, and during that time he took the Flyers to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2008. John also served as head coach for the Philadelphia Phantoms of the American Hockey League for 6 seasons from 2000 to 2006. Before I turn things over to Rob, I'd like to welcome John's wife Stacy and their son Nolan. We're very happy that you could both be with us here today, and congratulations to you and your family. With that, I'll turn it over to Vice President and General Manager Rob Blake.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for coming. Again, I know we had a press release yesterday, and I echo those statements. On a personal note, I've known John, his family, Stacy, Nolan, and John Jr. for a number of years, long before we crossed paths in the NHL. And I've always been impressed at his dedication to the game of hockey. I know his work ethic and his attention to detail is second to none, and we welcome that here with Los Angeles Kings. So at this time, I'd like to introduce John as a head coach of the LA Kings.
Thanks, Rob. I'd first like to thank Mr. Anschutz, Dan Beckerman, and the entire Kings organization for this opportunity. Excited, thrilled, can't wait. I'm really looking forward to working with Rob and Luke and the group that we have here. I've been very fortunate. I have really strong support at home. My wife, Stacy, we've been together for almost 30 years. She's been my best friend. I got 2 boys, John and Nolan. I get extreme amount of support from home, which I think is important with the amount of times necessary to be successful in this business. And they're driven to win as much as I am. As a family, all we've ever wanted was an opportunity to work for an organization with good people, was committed to the process of winning, and had a deep desire to win, work with good people, and a chance to win. And we've certainly had that here in Los Angeles, and I'm thrilled to be able to extend that relationship here with the Los Angeles Kings. I would like to thank Dean and Daryl. I have enormous amount of respect for both those men. It's been an amazing experience working with them. And I know they've made me a better coach and a better person, and I'll be forever grateful to them. The opportunity to coach here in Los Angeles to me is special. I think the fan support here is tremendous. I think the expectations of winning here in Los Angeles are as high here as anywhere in the National Hockey League, and that's a good thing. If you look at the group that we have here, there's 14 players on our roster that won Stanley Cups here. And that's a big number. 1, if not 2, and lots of them 2 cups. And I think when you have a group that knows how hard it is to win, when you have a group that knows the process to get there, and you have a group that knows what it feels like to get there, it's a great motivator. And that's what I'm looking forward to. We've been to the top of the mountain. We know what it feels like, and we're anxious to get to work and try and get there again. This is a big off season for our hockey team. We have players that have to get healthy, physically healthy. Guys like John Quick that missed a lot of time, guys that were banged up. We have guys that need to get their game healthy. And we're going to do everything in our power to help them do that. We have young players on our hockey team that need to take a big step. And we have young players that had a little bit of experience here that get an opportunity to make an impact on our hockey team. So we're excited about all those things. We know there's lots of work to be done, but we're willing to get the work boots on and start climbing the mountain. So thank you.
Thank you, John. With that, we will open it up for formal questions. So we do have mics here available. I see Mark.
John, how do you look at the way things went last year, and when you analyze what happened to the Kings, and what's the state of the Kings today? Obviously, you have a strong core of players, like you said, who've won cups before. Where is the team right now, in your opinion?
Well, anytime you miss the playoffs, it takes a lot of reflection. We're not where we want it to be. As I mentioned when I talked about our team, we have players that had off years, and to me, it's guys that we know that can be good players. We had some injuries this year we had to sustain. I mean, the one injury was our goaltending. Peter Budaj come in and did a great job for us. But the thing probably not talked about enough is the presence of John Quick in our locker room. And I think he's an enormous piece of our leadership of our hockey team, and we missed him dearly in that respect. But this team's gone through a big transition. We've got some young defensemen that have come in and earned jobs on our hockey team. We've got some young forwards that come in and earn jobs on our hockey team, and we've had some guys that were young players before that expected to take a lot more ownership and responsibility with our hockey team. And quite honestly, this year isn't where we want to be. But the experience we went through this year falling short, we're sure hopeful that it's going to help those guys get to where we need to be.
Ted?
John, congratulations.
Thank you.
Curious, you're obviously been a defensive mind all along, and everybody's saying we need offense, offense, offense. So what is the strategy from here to pick the right assistant? And from an X's and O's standpoint, not to get into detail, but how can it be much different with the same core?
I'm going to start to answer your offensive question by answering about defense, if that's okay. The success here, and quite honestly, the success in the National Hockey League comes from teams that can defend. And this team's always taken great pride in keeping the puck out of its net. And the reason we've been able to win here is because our best players and our best offensive players are quite honestly our best defensive players. You talk about Kopitar and Dowdy and even Toffoli and Carter, and you go down the line. Other teams have trouble with that. They've had trouble winning because they can't get their players to be as committed as our guys have been. And to me, I think that's a real plus. To have guys that are willing to do that already, I think is a huge plus. Now, when you look at our team, it's fact that we don't score enough goals this year. That's been a big topic of conversation. And if you look at the analytics, we're number one possession team in the league, so we have the puck a lot. I think we were second in the league for shots on goal, which means we're getting a lot of volume of shots. But what analytics tells us, you have to pay attention to analytics today. We don't get enough from the middle of the ice. And I think there needs to be a real focus and even more of a focus on doing more in the middle of the ice, on the rush, in the zone, getting to the net. I think part of our identity as a hockey team has to be that the LA Kings are a team that goes hard to the net. And quite honestly, if we lead the league next year in coaches' challenges for goalie interference, I'd be real happy about that.
John,
Go, Josh.
John, where do you think you're a better coach now than you were when you were in Philadelphia? What have you learned since then? What's the experience been like since then to get to where you are at this point?
Well, that's a great question, and I reflected a lot the last week, and I originally had the opportunity to work with Ken Hitchcock in Philadelphia. I was a minor league coach. He coached the big team, and learned a lot from him. I got the chance to work with Terry Murray in Philadelphia, and then here in Los Angeles. And then I got to work with Daryl Sutter here and experience enormous success working with Daryl. And I think you learn a lot from all the people you work with. I know I really try to be a student of the game. That's why I was so excited to work with Daryl and the experience and success he's had. And I think early on as a coach, I was a real X and O guy. I was going to teach the game, and I saw it on the board. And then I soon realized that relationships are probably just as important as X and O's in the spirit of your team. And I think through all the coaches and certainly with Daryl, just how important it is to push your team emotionally, keep them in a good place. And that's probably a part of the game I pay more attention to today than I did 10 years ago.
This question's for Rob. What qualities did you see in him that made you want to hire him as the head coach of this team?
Yeah, I would say, like I said, I've known John for a long time. Probably honesty would be number one. We've dealt with numerous coaches when I played in different organizations I've been in. The honesty factor goes a long, long way. Also, the the dedication to hockey. I think you have to be a hockey fan to enjoy the game and to do things, and I've seen those qualities. Like I said, the work ethic, the hours spent, and the preparation that leads to success. I've seen it first and foremost, firsthand, which made that decision very easy.
John, have you thought about assistant coaches yet?
We have, and that's just kind of the preliminary process. Rob and I talked about that briefly. It's the next order of business where we really want to sit down and make sure that we've got the right staff where we can cover a lot of bases. Some of the questions that have been asked where somebody have a real focus on the power play, on the offensive part of the game, working with our forwards, making them better in those areas, and obviously somebody to continue to work with our defense and develop their game. So we've looked at some guys, but it's only initially. We're going to get together this week, put a list together, start talking to some candidates, and we'll have a much better feel for that when we get deeper into the process.
Rob, it seemed that about 2 weeks ago that John Stevens seemed to be the initial and primary target of this search. What can you just say about just the level of the detail of the talks that you had with John, and what, if we can be privy to that, you guys spoke about over the better part of these 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, I've heard the word search for a long time. There was literally no search. I went to John, as soon as the changes were made and expressed our interest, and we sat and we kind of went over a game plan as a review of last year, but also some of the things John's touched on offensively, the style of the game that's being played, the direction of the game, and what we could accomplish to suit that, and the details on the offensive front that will be installed. So, that's taken place pretty much for the last, 10 days or so. But again, that was a decision made early, and we went forward with that.
Okay, Mark?
Rob, how much of John's reputation for being patient with young players went into his selection?
Well, I think that's been a philosophy here with the organization, and it's paid off. I do think there's situations now with salary cap and different things that young players do step in a little quicker than before. They're also trained better now than when we played in different things. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I think you saw that this year firsthand. We talked about some of the young defensemen and some of the young centermen that have come through the organization and played prominent roles down this stretch.
Anybody else? Okay, with that, we will break down real quick for a photo, and then Rob, John, and other members of the organization here that are present will be certainly available to everyone to chat with. So we will move forward there. Thank you.
Guys, real quick.